Okay, so for those of you who don't know me, my name is Katie Thompson, and I run a content marketing business for agencies and small businesses under the name Katie Lingo. Some people think of my name, it's a bit of fun. It's memorable, I guess, and it's one of the reasons why I've chosen to do a talk about personal branding today. So this might feel like a little bit of an exercise in narcissism. There will be pictures of me, there will be personal stories, but I'm just using it to show how you guys can apply this to your own life and personal branding. So, first of all, why do we build our own personal brand? Well, first of all, to gain trust. So we want to be known as an authority on a topic, and in doing that, we can build a bit of a community, build some followers, and potentially build up trust to get some more customers. We can do that in various different ways. So whether we're showing credibility with qualifications or case studies from work we've done, or even interviews with people who are kind of associated with like your industry. So let's say the law, society for law, something like that. Why do we need people to trust us? Because trust gets you seen. So you can go out there and just try and pitch yourself to all the talks and guest appearances and things like that. But if no one knows who you are, then you haven't kind of built that following. So it's a bit of chicken and egg. But once you have built up a bit of a profile, people will come to you instead of you having to pitch yourself so much. So a couple of examples here. In 2023, I did something with the Times, higher education, talking about AI. And then this year, I did something with BBC World Service. Is that lift about it? Oh, this was so fun. So last year, it was like stars on the rise, and people just kept coming out and just, oh, okay, let's not embarrass them. We'll just do a little clap in the car. Okay. But yeah, so the more we build up our profile there, the more we get one media appearance, and then we could snowball into others. We also want to take control of our presence online. It's so easy for anyone to say anything about anyone these days, so it's important to kind of take that control back and put a good profile out there. So whether that's kind of having your own social media, if someone searches your name, you might come up in the search, or having like author bios on your blog posts. So it's more about kind of getting your name out there on the search engine results pages, so there are really good SEO benefits. Now this is a very, very technical slide taken from the Search Engine Journal. It's talking about entities in SEO, so basically kind of large language models learning things like nouns, like your name, and position, like head of SEO at SEMrush or whatever, and then the language model kind of attributing these to each other, and it's kind of one way of how Google sort of understands how authors work. So if you can kind of establish yourself as head of SEO or whatever company, then in theory the knowledge graph should pick you up that way as well. And of course we have it straight from the horse's mouth. So yes, personal branding can strengthen SEO, so it's not necessarily part of the algorithm per se, but occasionally when humans do intervene with quality ratings, then they will look at you and see that you are actually the expert. Oh, okay, this is good. Please, come on. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Very good. I got it right at the front. Yeah, but the bum is right in front of my camera. So, I'll enjoy that later. Thank you. That was a great segue out of this technical bit. Okay. Less technical, people will actually like you. How many times do you work with people and it might be a little bit cheaper or something just because you actually might get on with them and get down to them? It's so simple, but so overlooked. Or rather, how many times would you not like to work with someone because they're really fast? Right? Yeah, or do we mind swearing? If it's a fun issue, I'll start it down there. So here's just an example here. This is from an agency client of mine. It's a blog post that a director wrote. And he's basically talking about how if you are part of a company and then you leave the company, that like account manager, they might have a really good relationship with the client and then they leave. So that client kind of wants that person to work with them because they've got a really good relationship with them. But then if that account manager does leave and then goes somewhere else, then they can recommend your agency and kind of build a network that way. So whilst it's great working together, it's really difficult to personal brand and have people like you that way. Okay, and obviously very, very important in a world dominated by AI. I don't know about you guys, but I'm sick of the sight of it, particularly those bloody action figures on LinkedIn. Yes, human touch, personal branding is very, very important. So, what actually is a personal brand? Well, we have kind of dictionary definitions. Okay, this is picture 1 of 1,000. So personal branding is the public-facing identity you create for yourself. It's authentic. Now, people can take that word and say they're authentic and actually be their opposite. So, for me, authenticity is about actually not just telling, but actually showing. So, the principle showing, don't tell me, you might have value while you're actually practicing what you preach. I did a little blog post on this in, 2020, about personal branding versus company branding, and is there a difference? And I spoke to a few different experts. Number one, this is another guy called Matt Lazenby, part of Lazenby Brown Agency in New York. He redesigned my website actually. And he says that while brands can have kind of their own values, individuals are allowed to have bad days. So we might let our emotions get in the way a little bit, and that's absolutely fine because we're all human. Another good friend of mine, a guy called Nick Bramley, so he runs his own company that's kind of like business coaching, sales coaching, and he says that he kind of uses his personal brand to promote his company brand, so they kind of work hand in hand. So he establishes himself as a thought leader. I hate that term, I'll try not to use it so much. And then the more people trust him, the more they trust his brand and work with his company. Similar sort of principle for this guy, Josh Goodgin. Has anyone ever seen Beard Meets Food on YouTube? It's some guy who does eating competitions. I'm not that over it, but this guy produces it. Apparently a really big deal if you're into that sort of thing. So because he does do this kind of fun, quirky stuff, he loves to experiment with his personal brand as well. So again, he uses his space forward-facing to drive people towards his business. So he's a bit of a YouTuber, so you can show people that he's good in front of the camera, but he's also good behind it. And then finally, my good friend Ellen. So she thinks that, she's also a writer, and she thinks that if you are in the creative sphere, so I'm guessing like you guys do a lot of like copy or design or other kind of creative things, you do have a little bit of leeway to have a little bit of fun with it. But let's not forget, if we look at Exhibit A, what do we think here, Raina? Cheerful, makes a piss out of balls deep on social media? Yes? Okay, so cheap and cheerful, but it gets you from A to B, right? It's practical. You know it's not going to be Virgin Airways, you know they're going to charge you to use oxygen and that sort of stuff, but you get there from A to B. What do we think of when we think M&S? Posh, high value, this is not just food. Gemma Lawson doing a sexy voice when she's eating a chocolate little pudding. So the point I'm trying to make here, momentarily, is that brands, as much as we can put our own names out there, brands are also about other people's perception of you. So not just companies, but also of you. And I'm going to give you a good and a bad example now. Okay, David Attenborough. You all know who David Attenborough is, yes? He has dedicated his life to conservation, to wildlife, to promoting biodiversity. He's been doing it since the 50s, since 1954 in fact. He lives and breathes his values. He's very into the environment and protecting wildlife. Come on in, come on. Sorry, at least you didn't come in through the lift. A few people or through the green room. It's fine. This guy, on the other hand, now, sorry if any of you like him, I'm not a fan. He preaches one thing, says, I'm a big entrepreneur, and look at me, I'm Billy Goodbox. But actually, things come out on him saying things misinformation, and his name behind things aren't actually as ethical as they say they are. So, it's a case of, are we actually practicing what we preach, or are we saying one thing and doing another? The principle being, you can tell people, oh yes, I look after the environment, or I care about wildlife, or whatever. But if you're not actually doing it, then that is inauthentic. And guess what? People will smell you from a mile away. So yes, that is a principle that I first picked up in a book by Stephen King on writing. Show, don't tell. So rather than just saying do it, actually do it. Now, a lot of you might be thinking, okay, I'm not a freelancer, I'm not a one-man band, I work as part of a team, and that's still absolutely fine. I'm hoping everyone in this room is old enough to know who these people are. Okay, good. A couple of years ago I did something about Haircut 100, and I'm guessing no one knows who that is. You're laughing, you. As we can see here, it's a troubling example, but the point remains. We have Ginger, who's a bit crazy and vivacious. We have Scary, who's a little bit scary. We have Sporty, but together they're greater than the sum of their parts. So you can still have a fantastic personal brand, but be part of a larger team. In fact, there are a lot of agencies now who kind of tell their team members to invest in, there is another lift, that is magical, to invest in their personal brand whilst working as part of the agency. Because if we follow the principles of those experts that we were talking about before, then drum roll. Come on in, it's fine. Oh, what's happening? Come on in. No, it's fine. It's fine. Beautiful. Lovely pink cardigan. Excellent fashion choice for personal branding. The point being, you can be part of a group and still have your own strong personal brand. Okay, so it's all very well. We know how, why we should use a personal brand, why it's important, and that it can apply to various people in different roles. But how do we actually define what a personal brand is? So going back to my friend Matt Lazy there, who did design my website, he gave me a little kind of branding exercise when I went in, and this is basically called brand archetypes. It's a little kind of presentation he gives to other agencies so that they can kind of discover what their brand is. And it's based on archetypes from Carl Jung. I'm sure we've heard him, psychologist. And it's basically a case of looking at the values of each of these different roles and seeing which ones fit you best. So you might have, let's say, I'm a healer, so people come to me for advice, I'm kind of like a mentor, I'm helping them out. Or they might be a magician, because you might come up with fantastic results. Let's say you've done a tech SEO audit or something like that, and people think, how did I manage that? So when you are kind of going through it, you can look at all the values based on these different roles, and then you can kind of apply these different archetypes to you, and it kind of gives you a profile based on you're this percent this and this percent that. But how do you know if you're sure of what your brand is? But what if we're not very sure of ourselves? How do we actually know what we like to work with? Well, they suggested that I do an exercise with my clients. So what I did is I just sent all my clients just a Google form and just said, how would you describe your experience working with me? Just give me 5 or 6 adjectives. Send this to, I don't know, 50 clients, got 5 adjectives each, so 250 adjectives. And these were the results. You can see here the most salient ones are kind of bonkers, confident, super, I love that, super. But yeah, you can tell there's a kind of sort of energetic vibe there, which is very validating for a start, but it does also kind of help you direct your brand personality and sort of portray yourself and how you can kind of put yourself across in your communications. So, with these adjectives in mind, what can we do with this data? Well, big old word cloud. What I've done with all those different adjectives is I've kind of grouped them into those with different, with similar sort of semantic meanings. So, confident, fun, light-hearted, friendly might come underneath that. Communicator, okay, well, how am I talking to people? Am I responsive when I'm talking to emails? Am I proactive in saying, do you need this? Bless you. Do you need this kind of thing? Doing reassuring, no nonsense. I don't do BS. I tell people like this. Quality focused. I have a journalism background. I'm very into fact checking, spelling, grammar. So making sure it's well researched, reliable, professional, and getting back to people and meeting their deadlines. And then authentic. I am honest. I'll be unflinchingly honest. I'm probably an oversharer, to be honest, and that's fine. But within that, it can be relatable and vulnerable as well, and hopefully insightful. So how can I actually put this across? Well, lots of different ways. So confidence. Obviously, things like public speaking really help. If I go out there and show people that I'm confident in public speaking, or even things like press releases. Anyone here ever written like a personal statement to get into uni? It's basically what writing a press release about yourself is. It's bigging yourself up, and it's cringe, but you have to do it. Client pitches. Okay, how can I be a better communicator in a client pitch? How can I tell people what kind of results they're going to get from working with us? Networking meetings. Am I listening as well as talking? Am I actually building rapport with someone? Authentic. Well, it could be something like your blog post. So it could be like a bit of an opinion piece. This is what I think about this, and I don't care if you think differently. Or even social media. You can put your personality across on there. You know, tone of voice, the sort of words you're using. And then, of course, quality focus. Again, client comms, making sure that I'm being completely clear, making sure I'm being responsive, and of course, the work produced. So these exercises, they might not always yield the results you thought. So when I went into this meeting, I didn't take it massively seriously, and I was kind of like, oh, well, you know, I'm just doing a clown role. And I thought that my only role was to make people laugh. But of course, that's not my day job. And I'm a writer, and I do produce content for people. And looking at the feedback that I got from these Google Forms, I realised actually that what people really valued was the fact that I got back to them quickly, and that I kind of reassured them, and that was reliable. So that kind of put me into the rescuer archetype, which I didn't consider before. I thought I was just immediate, honestly. And this happened to other people as well. So they said that they did this brand exercise working with people who worked in a children's hospice, which obviously is associated with very kind of serious and sad. But actually, one of their strongest archetypes was that they were a clown, because it's their role to make these children's lives as happy and as comfortable as they can. So it's really good to not only just look at yourself, but actually speak to other people to see how they perceive you. So we've talked about, okay, why is personal brand useful? How can we define it? Now, how can we develop it? So I'm going to go through 5 different things here, which will probably give you the ick a little bit. So how many people here hate networking? Yeah, oh good, that's actually quite positive. Excellent. Public speaking? Yeah, excellent. Just shouting by yourself makes you feel a little bit cringe? Yeah? Okay, well, let's just go through them one by one. Right. Networking. This is brilliant. This was last year. You ever tried networking and roller skates? Oh my god. Everyone else like this. I was like, very endearing. Got very rewarding. So, if you are going to go to a networking event, for God's sake, please do your research, because I cannot tell you how many cringy kind of referral networking events I've gone to where I have to stand up and do a pitch and I feel like I'm in the Masons or something. And it's not about building genuine relationships. It's like, oh, here's a plumber and here's an accountant. So maybe look something up that's more in your niche. For example, BrightonSEO. We're all here because you're into SEO, right? If you're not sure where to start, look at your social feeds, look at things like LinkedIn, look at what other people are posting about. Have they gone to this event? Does it look like fun? Are they in a similar sort of role to you? See if there's a guest list. For example, things like the Yorkshire Mafia, I'm based up in York. If they're having like a big party or something, they will publish the guest list in advance. And then check what kind of event it is. So is it a breakfast meeting? Are you going to have to go and like serve up your own fryer? Do you have to wear a suit? Or is it a little bit more relaxed? Are there drinks and things? Someone once told me, as part of a journalism course, that if you're going to a networking meeting and there's food, just be careful that you haven't got like spinach in your teeth. I mean, I wouldn't say don't let that put you off all events with food, but maybe just have a pocket mirror all the time. Yes. So how do we beat the ick? Yes, networking can feel forced and stuff being horrible. So what I normally do is, and I was literally doing this last night going, it's really irritating. So walk in and just speak to the organiser, because the organiser knows everyone, so they can introduce you to someone if you're just feeling like, Then it maybe integrate yourself into groups that are laughing, so you know they're going to be a bit more relaxed and a bit more friendly. You can literally, everyone remember like Bridget Jones when she walks up to like Sam and Rushdie and she's like, do that, but not like that. Do you know where the toilets are? But yeah, I would literally go along and leave your cringe at the door and just be like, I'm sorry, I missed that. What was that? Yeah, boom, you're in. Simple. Don't look at your phone all the time. I know it's so easy, especially nowadays, just to be like, but it is a war. So put your phone in your handbag in your pocket. And also look at other people who are alone. Again, I did this last night. I saw someone wander around aimlessly like I was, and I was like, you're by yourself as well? Yes. Boom. And then the group just opened up. It was magic. Second up, please stop the sell. I've literally been to networking meetings where we're like sitting around at lunch, and this guy just comes along with his business cards and goes, fuck off again. And it's like, oh, all right, mate, yeah, I definitely want to buy from you now. We're going to be best buds. Like, what? Why would you do that? Like, I know ultimately a lot of people go to networking so that we can sell, but you are not going to build a rapport with someone if you're just trying to like hit them with a pitch. So instead, just have a chat with them, ask them about their hobbies, ask them about anything that's not to do with work. I know that sounds like the antithesis of networking, but it's so much better. When I talk to people, I talk to them about, I don't know, running, something like that. And that way you can kind of stick in their brain, because they'll be like, oh yes, Katie, the runner. If you're terrible with names, like I am, particularly as a lot of networking events involve drinks, I just go, oh, Adam, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you, Adam. I don't say it a million times, but I just say it once so it kind of sticks in my brain. And for God's sake, please keep it light. I know the world at the moment is very scary and Trump and stuff, and I would leave the serious stuff for the boardroom. Because again, we want to build a rapport with people, don't we? Now, of course, it doesn't end there. There's also the follow-up. So, as you come to the end of your conversation, just ask them how you can keep in touch. Oh, I really enjoyed this chat. Are you on LinkedIn? My thing to do is go, you on the gram? You on the gram? Just do it in a stupid, like, Mean Girls voice, and then people seem more receptive. You can use something as simple as, everyone use, like, the QR code function on the phone. Yeah, or even take a business card. Who here still uses business cards just out of interest? Nice. Very good. Well, do you know what, they're great? Because one day you could just be riding through an old handbag and be like, oh yeah, boom, Ricky, there he is, boom. Sorry, love. Maybe talk about where you are visible online as well. So you could say, oh yeah, actually I talk about this on my blog, or I talk about this on Instagram, and kind of get that an online footprint in their head as well. So you can find out more here, or if you follow me on this. That way you're kind of staying in their heads. And then finally, I just like to send a personalised follow-up, and not a really cheesy one. Like, love to talk to you about lighting solutions. No, just like, that was really great. Thank you for showing me that dog photo. Fantastic. Boom. We've built a bit of a rapport there. It doesn't always have to be talking shop. Okay, just to round off the networking then. Please don't sue me for using that. This is down Don't panic about what you look like. I really should practice what I preach here because I'm wearing a white dress and my finger started bleeding for some reason and now I've got blood on my dress. So don't do as I say, do as I... No, get away from it. As long as you're clean and presentable and comfortable, you don't have to be wearing really high heels or do your hair a certain way or anything that's like different from what you would normally do. Because if you are going to be panicking about that, then that's going to come across and you're going to go the whole time and it's going to come across in your body language. So just be comfortable, presentable. Again, when you're kind of researching the networking event, if there are any presentations or anything, try to arrive on time. You don't want to walk in halfway through because some idiot like me will go, "Hey, welcome," and might embarrass you a little bit. And then finally, just leave them with something memorable. So it could just be a joke, or it could be like, "Hey, remember that time I ran that marathon," or whatever. Something that makes me stick in your head. But again, isn't necessarily about that. Cool. We good with networking? All good? Yes. Okay. Now on to the second big if. Okay, so how many people said they hated public speaking? Excellent. So even the hands got really tentatively because this is how nervous it makes us feel. I pulled some stats here from a whole presentation I did on public speaking. So according to Psychology Today, it affects 25% of us. I honestly think it's higher because another study showed that public speaking, or glossophobia in a technical term, is the #1 fear, right? So that's 13 places above things like escalators, 9 places above dogs, and 6 places above death. People would rather die than speak in public. Now, to me, that's insane, right? However, it is rational because when we speak in public, basically, if you look at the science of it, you have a bit of, you've had the fight-flight response, right? It just means that this part of your brain, the amygdala, or however you want to say it, it means it's functioning correctly because when we're speaking in public, as social creatures, right, we want to be part of a crowd because if we're not part of a crowd, that exposes us to the predators. So I'm standing here and there's a lion in front of me who's going to kill me, right? You guys are the lions, except you're not going to eat me, you're going to judge me. Right? That is exactly what we're feeling. So that is why we see these physical symptoms like you might get a dry mouth or you might get shakes or heart rate or whatever. So it's completely fine if you have a fear of public speaking. However, there are ways to allay it if and when you have to do these presentations. So, #1, they play The Sims. Yeah, you know when they like talk to themselves in the mirror and they're like, gussy up or whatever. Show my age now. But just have a little bit of a word with yourself before the presentation, because you've got to remind yourself that no one is there to take you down. People are here because they're invested in whatever it is you're there to talk about. So they're not going in with a negative mindset. They're there to support you. So remind yourself that and be like, okay, great, yeah, those people come to see me. Fantastic. Second, no one knows what's coming. So if you screw up, you forget a line, or you say things in the wrong order, no one knows that because they haven't already seen the presentation. I literally say this to Zumba instructors. They can be like, look, and I'm like, no, you've messed up. No one knows. It's not like we know any better. So don't stress if it doesn't go exactly according to plan. I use an example from Billy Joel. Now, okay, so I've done the Spice Girls. Any Billy Joel fans in? We didn't start the fire. Come on in, we're singing. Come on, we're doing karaoke. Come on.
I'm in the wrong one.
No, you're not. Come on, love. Yeah! Alright! Give me a hand, give me a hand. Right. So you're going to come sing Billy Joel with us. Billy Joel says that, he says he hates singing that song live because this is a direct quote, so sorry for swearing. He says one wrong line, he will fuck it up, right? So if you stick to a really rigid script and then you go off script, you're really going to panic. So instead, have some prompts and stuff, have a rough idea of what you're going to say, but don't feel you have to really rigidly stick to the script. And then next up is, anyone heard of power poses? Okay, so there was a great TED talk by a social psychologist called Amy Cuddy, and she talks about a study they did wherein they were kind of looking at body language and how it affects how we sort of put ourselves across, particularly for things like job interviews. So they took two groups of people. One group of people, they just said, right, I just want you to sit like this. You know, really kind of like covered up, really withdrawn. And then they took another group of people and said, right, go like this. You know, big growly, blah, 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 blah. Then what they did is they took a vial of their spit and they measured it. And they were looking specifically at the stress hormone cortisol. And they found the people who had gone as if they're about to fight a bear were 25% less stressed. So of course, I'm now going to ask you all to stand up. Come on. Believe me, I feel stupider than you do. Right. Let's just be a line, you know, like in yoga. Hands in the air. Alright, you can sit down. Fantastic.
No more comments.
There we go. And don't we feel better? We all look ridiculous. Oh, don't shake your head. You love it. You love it. You don't have to do that in front of everyone. You just do it in front of the mirror like they're doing the Sims. It's great fun. And this is basically, it's kind of an evolutionary thing. Again, if you were fighting that bear, if you went like that, you make yourself bigger, the bear might run away. So, it's not just what we're saying, it's also how we're saying it. So, there are kind of ways you can sort of adjust your intonation, your speed, your rhythm to make your presentation a bit more engaging. So, going with Aristotle, he says dramatic unity of time, place, and action. I like to keep it a bit more simple, just point, evidence, explain. So, I might say, Donald Trump is a moron. Evidence, he's mucking about these tariffs. Explain, he's just taken the tariffs off again. Or whatever. I don't know. Or we can follow the Dale Carnegie principle. You may have heard of him. So, how to win friends and influence people. So, he says, tell people what you're going to tell them. Then tell them what you just told them. It sounds silly, but it's really reinforcing those points there. And when I talk about rhythm and pacing, this is a great example here from a guy called Gary Provost. I'm not sure if you can see it, but up the top here it says, this sentence is 5 words. Here are 5 more words. 5-word sentences are fine. It's very boring and stilted and it kind of gets tiresome. But then we've got, now listen. I vary the sentence and I create music. Writing the thing. And there's kind of like a bit of a variation in pitch here, and it makes it all the more engaging, not just in the spoken word, but also in the written word as well. So this is something I like to apply in both writing and speaking. So think of it like a film trailer. In a world where just makes people a little bit more interested in your presentation. Okay. Again, why is how we're saying important? Well, if we look at Dr. Alvin Rubbin's principle, only 7% of what we're saying only accounts for 7% of the message you're trying to get across. The other 93% are your voice and your tone, 55% is your body language. Now, I'm going to have to ask 3 volunteers. Yes, okay, one.
I'm taking the lift, no.
Any more? Yeah, alright! This feels like the price is right. Come on down, I don't know your name, but come on down. Okay, one more, or yes, come on, okay.
Is it gonna hurt?
No, it's not going to hurt, and it will take you one second, I promise. Okay, tell me your name. Ayman.
Emma.
Emma,
Richard.
lovely to meet you all. Okay, we have this sentence here. I did not say that man was a thief. Simon, when prompted, can you reread the sentence but emphasise the word that's circled?
I did not say that this man was a thief.
Fantastic, thank you. Emma, could you do the same but with that circled word?
Sorry, what's that?
It's really.
I did not say that man was a thief.
Very good, very good.
I did not say that man was a thief.
Okay, fantastic, go sit down. See, I can't do it with this. Do you see the point we're trying to make here? I didn't say that man was a thief, but someone else might say it. I didn't say that man was a thief. They might be a lying, cheap scoundrel, but they're not a thief. So, it could be the same words, but the meaning can be completely different depending on how we put it across. That's actually an exercise I learned in the call centre, but it applies to everything, be that public speaking, personal branding, whatever. So, a little bit of housekeeping then with your public speaking. Again, same with the networking, do your research. So, look at the venue, how many people are going to be there, is it going to be 500, is it going to be 5? I personally think speaking to a bigger crowd is better. It sounds scary, but that way you can actually one-on-one. It's fine if you are, but I like big crowds. Also just technical things like the audio visual tech, so you don't turn up like me just trying to prop your camera up and you get blood all over your dress, you know, things like that. And honey, just don't panic, as I say, don't be Billy Joel. If you know what you're talking about and you believe in it, people will engage with you. So it doesn't matter if you screw up. Absolutely fine. A little bit of general housekeeping. Visuals can help. So we're talking about like telling what we're going to tell them and what we told them. So labeling chapters if you are using Death by PowerPoint, like we want to. A little bit of audience interaction as well. You saw how much fun this has been thus far. And don't panic if people ask questions. I've had it before where I don't know the answer, I'm completely frozen. Take a second, just take a breath. Kelvin said yesterday in the speaker tour, that's an interesting question. But I would say I would love to have a chat with you afterwards. Because sometimes they might ask questions that's a little bit beyond your remit. I had that happen to me once. I said, like, that's a little bit advanced for this course, but that's fine. I'd love to talk to you about it afterwards. And finally, use the Paula Radcliffe principle. Now, I'm a marathon runner, and I love Paula, and she says, before every race, prepare for 3 things to go wrong. Because then when inevitably one thing goes wrong, you'll be prepared for it. Now, I wasn't ready for my finger to start bleeding all over my dress, but I was ready for a wardrobe malfunction. And it's like, look, no one died. Now, you might be thinking, okay, I've got to do public speaking, but I'm an introvert. I absolutely hate going out and speaking to people. But introversion is not a bad thing, and you can actually use it to your advantage. And this is a book that I read in lockdown. My husband gave it to me because he is a yin to my yang. He is a massive introvert. Something like this would absolutely fill him with dread. I'm the extrovert. And what it says in this book is that both are absolutely fine. Extroverts get their energy from going out and meeting people, and they feel great and elevated after a day of networking. Introverts want to go home and sit in a dark room, right? But what this book does say is that even though we put extroverts on a pedestal, you know, Trump, Boris Johnson, whoever, that introverts can actually be very, very sensitive to people around them, and they're a lot more aware of people's reactions and stuff. So as a result, that makes them a little more empathetic. So they're a lot more kind of sensitive to people's feelings. So if you are doing something like public speaking, you might slow down a little more. You might kind of engage with people a little bit more. And also remember that that is my husband. He was supposed to be here today, but he couldn't bother to come. Yes. So he is an introvert, but he still very much gets involved, and he does work with me on the business as well. So even if you are an introvert, you might not love getting in front of the camera or whatever, but that's fine. There are other ways that you can contribute a personal brand up there. For example, you could write a guest post to someone, a bit of an opinion piece. You don't have to be talking to someone one-on-one. You could just be like commenting on LinkedIn posts and saying, here's what I think. You might be building up other assets, thought leadership, like your own blogs or white papers or whatever. Or you might be partnering with extroverts, which is kind of the point I'm illustrating here, because we do work together. And in that book I've just mentioned, they use some great examples of history, like Teddy and Eleanor Roosevelt. Now, Teddy was obviously the president, but Eleanor, his wife, was very quiet, but she actually had a lot of wisdom. There's a lot of great quotes from Eleanor Roosevelt, and they work together really well. So partner with an extrovert if you do extrovert. That's absolutely fine. Okay, I'm going to take a little breather. So we've already covered why personal branding is important, how to find out what our values are, what's important to us, how do we get over icky things like public speaking and networking fear. So, do we have any questions thus far? I'm definitely not posing for this cameraman who's just walked in. No, we all good? Feeling good about the networking? Feeling good about the public speaking? Yes? Okay. Right. Take a squat and then I just do like this. How you doing?
You haven't got the hat this time.
No, I haven't. Oh, was that you? Oh, this guy got a fantastic picture of me in his cowboy hat when I was emceeing in October. With the Sticks and Jones had this hat, and then he gave me the hat, and oh, it was all just. Alrighty, okay, we're halfway through. Let's crack on. This next bit is all about you. Now, the next slide has got pictures of me, but again, it's to illustrate the point about how you can apply it to yourself. At Vogue, yes. Okay. Now, if you thought public speaking and networking were icky, how do you feel about awards? Right, they are a little bit contentious, right? However, they are also a great way of building up your personal brand. So, as you can see here, I went through a bit of a mad one between kind of COVID and 2022-ish, just applying for everything. Probably because I was so desperate to go out and meet people, and Zoom was the best way I could do it. But it did get my name and my face on a lot of high-profile award ceremonies. So why would we apply for awards? And I will say this: it's not always about winning. It's not about the winning; it's about the taking part, right? Various reasons. We might overlook this to actually reinforce the value of the work you've done. So, when you are putting together an award application, they ask for the facts and figures and things. So you will actually think, oh yeah, I forgot about this campaign. I forgot that I built this number of links, or I forgot I made this number of sales, or made this revenue grow by this much, or whatever. So it's just a great way of kind of giving you a reminder of those stats and the work you've put in, which then you can take to supplement other things, like, let's say, a client pitch. Oh yeah, actually, I remember that from my presentation. Then, of course, you can turn them into social or on-site content. So if you've got all those stats and things ready, things like that, great. I can repurpose this into a case study I've already done after work. So just a little reminder of the hard work you've done. Second way, if you're a bit of an extrovert like me, it's a great way of meeting your peers. We're all here today because we love networking, meeting other people and learning from them. Come, sit down, it's fine. Sorry, I've done it to everyone who's walked in. It's not personal. But it's personal branding. So these ceremonies are a great chance to network. You can see here, this is the Digital Women Awards a few years ago. And you never know who the next person you might be the stepping stone to the next big project, the next big client. And you can also learn a lot from them. You're like, oh wow, that campaign you did was fantastic. Okay, how can we apply this to our own clients, to our own campaigns? Then, of course, to raise your profile, you get your boat raised pretty much everywhere. You can work with big brands like, you've heard of The Drum, I assume? We've heard of Campaign. It does enhance your online footprint. So again, in those search engine results pages, it might not just be your website, it might be such and such has been nominated for this. To be even in the same category as Channel 4, I didn't win, but the profile is there. It's raising credibility there, because once you become credible, people come to you as that thought leader, as that authority in that topic. Then, of course, we can repurpose the assets. So when you do apply for an award, they send you all sorts. They send you little templates. You can put social media. You can use email signatures, just things to reinforce the fact that you're so good, we got nominated for, or even won, an award. And of course, there's the SEO benefit. So there's a lot of partnerships wherein they might put a link to your website, or you might just have the brand awareness of your name on, let's say, Benefit North's website, something like that. So you might get links, increase your brand awareness, and just use one little asset you can repurpose in several different ways across different channels. So, with all that in mind, how do we actually apply for awards? Tip number one would be ignore the haters. So you probably have people telling you like, oh, well, they just want an award because I bought 10 seats, or like, they're sponsored, they pay for it every year. Yeah, that's true. A lot of awards you do have to pay to enter. However, now unfortunately he's not here, but this is my husband, I'm stealing this straight from him. He says, Lance Armstrong won whatever bike race it was, and he doped. But he said everyone else was doping, and you still won. So if you pay for an award entry, everyone else is paying. If you still win, you're still better. So it doesn't matter. You're still on a level playing field. Maybe not the most ethical example, but the point stands. Now, again, similar to networking, before you just go applying for here, there, and everything, research the awards. So look at the people who've been nominated before. Are they similar to you? Are they similar size? Do they work with similar sort of clients? Are they relevant? God knows I would love to win Fish and Chip Shop of the Year, but probably not that happening. When you are writing your entry, use specific facts and figures. They're not looking for fluff, they're looking for the numbers. So go into Google Analytics, go into your social, whatever you can get to back up your entry. Usually have quite a generous word count, so like 1,000 words, so by all means make use of it. If you think it might be relevant information, it's better to put information in rather than fluff. But always come back to the question at hand. So what's the award for? Is it the most impactful charity campaign? Okay, what kind of impact does it have? Always return to the reason behind it. So, short and sweet. That's awards. It's lots of fun. If you like a drink like me, then even better. Next up, events. How many people here have ever spoken at anything like BrightonSEO or anything? Oh, come on, pride. Come on, yeah, that's better. Thank you. Look at this shine. You're so British. You're French, right? Yeah, well, whatever. European. Right. So we've talked about why we do awards, why we do networking, why we do public speaking. Why would we speak at events? Well, number one, you might have an original thought or idea. I've seen a whole entire concept about SEO, let's say entities in SEO, being talked about at these events. So you might be the first person to come up with this amazing idea. So you want to tell people about it. You want to get yourself in front of your peers. So again, they could be a potential client or they could be someone that you could learn from. You want to build your confidence. The more you do this, trust me, when I first started doing this, some of you might have even been there. I accidentally erupted into song at the end of one of my first presentations. It was a Meatloaf song, wasn't it, Rich? Yeah. Yeah. So the more you do this, the less inclined you will be to sing Meatloaf. Because you all know Meatloaf. And of course, to gain credibility. Once again, those assets you can say speaker at BrightonSEO, put those in your email signature. Once again, do your research. So when you are looking for events to pitch at, look to media packs. Look at how many people come to the event. Look at what kind of people. Is it decision makers, executives, things like that. Look at the venue. Is it accessible? Look at kind of like the audio-visual setup as well. See how many people are actually going to come along. Have the awkward conversation. Now, when it comes to speaking at events, basically, the money can go three ways. Either they'll pay you, you'll pay them because they'll consider it an advertising opportunity, or no money will change hands, and that's fine. It might just be that they give you a free ticket or something like that. It's awkward, but if you're not sure, you have to ask, because otherwise that could be a very, very embarrassing conversation later on. And finally, be true to yourself. So I might have seen things in my LinkedIn feed that look like fun, but then when I go on it, it all looks a little bit like AI pro, and that is just not my style. Don't go to an event if you feel it's not for you. Okay, what about writing the pitch? Read the instructions. It sounds really simple, but you can get rejected really easily, just for simple things like not defining what kind of talk it is. So, for example, in a BrightonSEO one, they might say, is it more hands-on, is it more technical, is it a bit more like inspirational? Also, just check the small print. Some people say, apply, for example, Brighton says, apply for the next pitch directly after the next Brighton event. When is it more likely to be seen, things like that, and make sure you're not applying after the deadline, because you could be putting a lot of work into something and for it to get missed up. Next up, discuss who's actually going to benefit from it. Just like marketing in general, it won't be for everyone. So, is it for someone in a particular job role, or are they in technical SEO and PR? Is it for people who are just sort of starting their journey, or are they a little bit further along? And then consider where they might apply the tips that you're giving them. So let's say if I am talking to beginners, people are at the start of their freelance journey, that's who they are, and then they want to raise their profile. That's what they want to do. That's what they want to take away from it. So we're talking about what people are taking away from it. Yes, you might say it's really, really inspiring, but actually what are the actual insights? So will they learn techniques for public speaking? Will they know how to do better keyword research? Will they know how to put a pitch together for a client? Anything that they can actually take away from it, they know that it's not just will inspire the next generation, actually something actionable. And of course, talk about how it will be presented. So people want to know if they're going to come and stand up here and read out sentences about thieves or whatever. Is it a Q&A? Is it a bit more interactive? Is it a round table? Let people know exactly what you're going to give to them. The fewer questions they can ask, the better. Next up, back up your application. So why are you the best person for the job? You can use social proof to talk about why you're the best. So you could use like Google reviews, LinkedIn reviews, people saying, I went to such and such a talk. Or even things like, where have you appeared before? So here's my little snippet from when I did a talk at the Times. It was great because it was a panel, and this guy just didn't shut up. It was brilliant. I said about 3 words. Often I don't tell people. It was so annoying. No, but seriously, talk about where you've appeared before. Have you appeared on high-profile things? Have you worked with the BBC, whatever, stuff like that? Have you put together any award-winning campaigns? What makes you the right person to give this talk? And if it's a case of you don't have that, those kind of like social proof or those case studies or whatever, how else can you back it up? It might be, let's say, more inspirational talk, like, I lost my leg to a landmine, now this is why I give talks like this. Or a better example, but you see the point, a unique story. But we're right on the 933. Don't give up. I always think of Lady Gaga when she did that speech and said how many doors she had closed in her face, and look at her now. She goes around wearing neat dresses and stuff and just having a nice time. So you will probably lose a lot of pitches. Ideally, they would get back to you, but a lot of the time you won't hear back. Don't be disheartened. Maybe ask for feedback. Some might say when they're responding to you, or if they don't respond, just email them to say, what can I do to improve that in future? Look at people who are regular speakers and see what makes them stand out. So are they really good storytellers? Are they funny? Do they have kind of their own case studies or new ideas that they want to pitch? What kind of tips can you take away from them? And then when you have one, obviously that's going to build up your confidence, and then you can pitch to another, and you can use that as kind of the social proof you are actually good at speaking. So what I like to do is create a bit of kind of a content bank. I was after a speech in Monaco a couple of years ago, so I actually created a whole YouTube channel and just gathered all the filming. I think I took some of your stuff, Rich, actually, and put it on my YouTube channel just to say, well, if you want to see it, right, it's all here. Just making it easy for people to see exactly where you've done it before. So, we've covered events, we've covered networking, public speaking, awards. How else can we shout about ourselves? Because guess what? No one is going to do it for you. You can have social proof and stuff and you have your mates, but ultimately it all comes down to you. So we can't be shy, yeah? Podcast. Anyone here anyone run a podcast? Anyone ever be on one? Anyone listening to them? Okay, right, so you see the audience. A lot of people I follow on LinkedIn or other socials might have their own podcasts, and quite often they will put out requests for guests. So if you are an expert on something, it's a really nice, like, relaxed way just to have a bit more of an organic conversation with someone about a certain topic. I did one for a technical SEO podcast a few weeks ago. Literally just filled out a Google form, boom, I'm on the podcast. Simple as that. Then it's a great way of kind of cross-promoting as well, because obviously you can promote the fact that you're on it, and then they can promote you as well. You fish out with them, fish out with you. It's a little bit of kind of a snowballing thing there. Various channels, Spotify, YouTube. Great way of just using one piece of content and proliferating it and getting your name out there. Another thing is press releases. Anyone here ever written a press release? Yeah. Oh, excellent. Okay, good. So you can be proactive and look for relevant journalists who might be covering topics that you like to talk about. There are tools like Gorkana or Muckrack or Cision for actually finding like freelance journalists or certain bylines for particular topics. You can also be more sort of reactive, so you can respond to journalist requests. Obviously, with the fall of Twitter, I think fall of X and Haro or Helper Reporter out there, sadly no longer with us, but there are still ways that you can kind of be more reactive, responsive to people's requests. There are still like Facebook groups. I know, like the Daily Mail and the Sun or whatever still have Facebook groups with people asking for unique stories. So by all means, just keep your finger on the pulse and do respond to them whilst being proactive at the same time. In terms of writing a press release, If you do have something to share, make sure it is actually newsworthy, not just like, lol, here's my product, it's great, buy it, because journalists really don't want to hear about that. I'm sure we've all been to presentations on link building where we're just saying that journalists don't want to know and they get a million emails a day. They do. So make sure it is actually something newsworthy. So whether you've got a new award win or a new business, something like that. When you are writing it, this is something I took from when I trained in journalism. We call it the inverted triangle approach. So the kind of most important information, so who, what, where, why, when, and then kind of the details, so giving it a little bit more context, right down to the bottom to like begin and touch here or whatever. But hit them straight away with the key points. A new copywriting business has just opened in York, or whatever, and then go from there on. Now, can we shout about ourselves? Social media. Okay, who here is on Instagram? TikTok? Facebook? Blue Sky? Who's quit X? Oh, yes! Love it. I've left out my favourite, LinkedIn. I mean, I'll say favourite in a sort of ironic way. I just like to do it. Yeah, there we go, yeah. I just take the piss on it, it's more fun. By all means, don't feel that you have to cover all of them. They might not all be relevant to you, and that's absolutely fine. It's better to have like 2 channels where you're consistently staying in touch with people than trying to spread yourself thin over 5. Like, I have a Facebook page, I'll be honest, not a lot happens there. But do remember, it's a little bit chicken and egg. It's like, okay, well, how do I build a following? Well, I need people, but then how do I have content if I haven't got a following kind of thing? So how do I kind of create my social profile to make sure that I've actually got a following and I've got stuff to talk about? Well, remember, it's not just about everything you're putting out there. It's not just about your own posts. You can also comment on other people's posts. I'm using LinkedIn a lot in examples because I ironically love it. And it's a great way of, if you comment on a post with something helpful, kind of your own opinion, you'll get more eyes on you, more people build your profile, then they'll add you, and then you can build up your network that way. I find a great way of doing it is someone may have talked about a topic that I might have written about on a blog post, and they say, oh yeah, this is great, this is how I feel doing a blog post. It's just getting eyes on it, particularly if that person has great following as well. So there's all that sort of snowball effect. You can also follow people in your industry. You may not have heard of them all, but see who your friends are following or whatever, say, I don't know, David Ogilvy in copywriting, whoever, and see who they're talking about, and again, comment on them. And then start organic conversations with people. So it could just be a case of, when I'm doing a post, what do you think about this? And encourage people to interact with you a little bit more, because again, it's getting more eyes on you, and you have more content to share there, getting different perspectives, you're building up your profile that way. Okay, I need 2 more volunteers. I promise it's really, really easy, and it'll take 2 seconds. Okay, yeah, alright, okay. 1 more. Oh no, right, 1 more. Right, this is Stu, everybody. He's lovely, and here we are.
Arm wrestling for money later.
Oh no, but that tip I've forgotten. A great way of breaking the ice is arm wrestling at now. You don't even have to be drunk, it's brilliant, because it's a great way of seeing who's a good loser, who's strong, and it gets a crowd. Right, okay, you've both got a piece of paper here. It's got the same instruction on it. I want you both to look at it, and then whichever one of you feels more confident that you can do this, just read it and tell me if you think you can do that. How do you feel? What's your name, sorry?
Nancy.
Nancy. Do you feel really confident about it?
I feel confident, yeah.
I feel confident.
We can both do it. All right. Okay. You go first, and then when she's done it, then I want you to do this, and then we swap.
Okay, so I'm saying it now.
Yes. Tell everyone, but also tell Stuart.
Well, I graduated with a master's in January, and I had a distinction. So I'm very pleased with that. This is my achievement, recent achievement.
I'd like to congratulate you. That's absolutely wonderful. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good now.
I've just launched my new consultancy. I make marketing plans for ocean caring organisations. I'm very excited about it.
And now you are going to do what's called that, baby.
That sounds fantastic. Yes.
All right, give a big hand. You can keep that paper as well. There you go. There's a bonus.
Okay. Thank you.
Cheers.
Okay. It would have been better posted, so I would have gone smoothly. The point of that is that if you do a post on social media and you get like 5 likes, oh, I've only got 5 likes. If that were in real life and you had 5 people going, mate, that's really bloody good, wouldn't that feel great? So don't stress if you do only get 5 likes, because it's better to get 5 genuine likes from people who are supporting you than it is to get 5 million from people who don't care, or are trying to pro themselves, or worse, old robots, which, let's face it, is happening a lot more, isn't it? So sometimes things will just go viral for no rhyme or reason. The other day, I did a post on LinkedIn with a picture of me as a 10-year-old. It was that coffee thing? Do you remember that thing? I took myself out for a coffee. Yeah, I did that, but with a picture of me, and I said, "Will I always be a munter?" And he got 75,000 views. Sometimes there's no rhyme or reason. You might just use a stupid word that people haven't used for 20 years. So don't feel disheartened if, for whatever reason, something you put loads of effort into doesn't get viral, and vice versa. That being said, there are ways you can increase your chances of getting seen on social media. Now these are tips that I've kind of distilled from a post I did called #winning, the secrets of LinkedIn content data, where we kind of analysed everything from Google Analytics and LinkedIn reviews and stuff to see what kind of patterns make for more kind of engaging posts. So looking at like the phrasing of the titles and use of hashtags and use of images, things like that. But going back to what we said earlier, thinking about like that rhythm, that pace. So start with a catchy statement like "I was walking the dog," or except a better one, and then a longer one, and then whatever. Keep it brief, but start with a catchy statement, then with an explainer, and then finally kind of encourage people to interact with it. Don't use the word "agree" because you'll look like a tosser. Actually say something like, "Well, what do you think? Has this ever happened to you?" Encourage people to interact with your post. I would say images generally get more interaction, particularly on LinkedIn, but for God's sake, if you're going to use a selfie, do it for the right reason. This is an example of one that is not. In fact, that's that hat that the photographer mentioned earlier on. This is Dixon Jones's hat. If you're putting a selfie up for selfie's sake, it can bring out the trouble, so just be sparing with it. Other ways to get people involved, tag other people, particularly, let's say you've been to an event, but make sure you're tagging them for the right reasons. You just tag everyone you know for the sake of it, because it will just put people off. If you're linking to a post, again, particularly on LinkedIn, put it in the comments, not in the post itself, because supposedly the algorithm doesn't like it if you direct people off the website, and I've seen that plenty of times. If you are pushing anything, again, on LinkedIn or Facebook, Instagram, whatever, use your personal pages to push it as well, because for some reason these engage a lot more than company pages. But hey ho, that's personal brand, and that's why we're here. But wait, just in this final section, if that personal brand only had to be about work? You guys, you all have jobs, SEO, copywriting. What kind of shout things on you? What do you do? SEO, yes.
3D printer.
3D printing.
Yeah.
Oh, I like it. All right, cool. Okay. That's brilliant, that's your job, but that's not the only thing that makes you you, is it? I'll tell you a little story now. So I am a runner. When I meet people, I go, "Hi, I'm Katie, I've run 10 marathons, I'm a twat, hi." But I have used it in a part of my personal branding. So let me just skip to this video, and then I'll explain. She says, "Oh, now we'll test the sound, don't we? Let's see." No, don't worry. There we go. I'm just going to hide, because you'll see how embarrassing it is. So we're in Tesco, and someone said to me, "I want you to run around Tesco singing Black Box's Ride on Time and film it," right? You get the idea, we don't need to see any more of my bum. Right. Oh, no, it's... Alright, well, ignore that. This is part of a campaign I did called Dares for Donations. Can you still hear me? Just ignore that. I had to run the London Marathon. And I knew that people are really grumpy and I can't show. Really grumpy about giving to charity. So I did a thing saying, "You give me a dare to do in public, and I'll film it in exchange for a donation. So just give me something stupid." And I ended up running around Tesco. I ate a big chocolate cake like Bruce Bogtrotter. I did all sorts of stupid stuff, and it got the donations in. And this video went viral. It had like 100,000 views. I got on telly, I got on the radio, I got in the local paper, and we hit the target. Look at it. And we hit the target in 6 weeks rather than 6 months. And it was a great PR campaign. And it was nothing to do with work. It was just running and leaving a tip. Okay, thank God. I don't know, I can't see my mouse. But I realised that people actually really connect with stupid, funny stuff. So I kind of inspired a bit of a rebrand. And hopefully you've been able to tell by now, I've started doing stand-up comedy now, which has been really, really helpful, particularly for things like stand-up, for public speaking and for having a bit of a thick skin. And now I take those snippets and I put them on LinkedIn because I realise it doesn't have to be about work and it resonates with people. And even putting stupid clips of me telling jokes with 4-letter words has won me clients. So it's not just about work. So, for example, your hobbies might have other transferable skills. So, as I say, I did fundraising. That was also an exercise in PR, brand awareness, marketing, running. That's definitely the skills of resilience, or even things like counting miles, numbers, or things like comedy. You might be great at public speaking. You might even have empathy with people, or great at taking little snippets and sharing them on social media, your video editing skills. There are lots of ways that you can use your hobbies as part of your personal brand. Would anyone here like to share a hobby they have? Go. Oh, it's what kind of art?
Illustration, comic aside, funny social situations.
Brilliant. Okay, do you ever talk about that when you're doing networking?
No.
Why not? You should. Do you have like an Instagram page?
I have a separate Instagram page for it.
Brilliant.
So it's
Okay.
actually its own brand page.
Great. Oh, perfect. But I would love to hear about that. So I was chatting to you because not only is that showing your skills as an artist, but also showing your skills as a social media creator and as a marketer and stuff like that. So it just goes to show that your hobbies can also be part of your job and be part of your personal brand. And it's a great way of connecting with people. Let's not forget, you might recognise this, Mr. Ricky. I've got a photo, right. Oh.
Don't give me Pythagoras, it's far too early in the day.
This is some presenting work I do.
Very good at maths. Pythagoras, it's far
I
too
used to
early
bill
in the day.
myself as just a writer,
Yes.
but as my brand has evolved over time, I've started doing presenting, I do comedy, I do running, I do keyword research, I do podcasting, and it's fine for your brand to evolve. And we'll just wait for Richard to take a picture before we move on. The point being, yes, your brand can evolve. So, Rich, do you want to tell everyone what we did in that campaign?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, he's standing up. He's standing up. He's coming to the front.
I'll come to the side. I don't want to take you.
Okay.
So Katie helped me out. We did a campaign for Multiply, which is part of North Yorkshire County Council. And the point of that is to get people who don't have a maths qualification to engage with maths, which is really hard because anyone wants to do maths now. No, you don't, do you? So we took Katie onto the streets and she asked 5 maths questions, and it was hilarious.
5 times 4, go.
Hey!
All right, fantastic. Thank you, Rich. Okay. Right, we've got like 5 minutes. I'm just going to have to rush through this because we're just having so much fun. Your brand might evolve for various reasons. Number one, personal preference. Your values might change. It might be a case if you no longer want to work with certain clients because they've moved the needle or whatever. That's fine. It's okay for you to evolve. Second, your clients, yes, they may get bigger and more diverse, which might mean you might narrow your focus. You might realise, oh, actually, I'm working with a lot of tech clients. I might niche down. Or there might be macroeconomic factors. So you might have heard of PESOL, political, economic, social, technology, environmental, legal, all these other things that might affect you for reasons beyond your control. Like the tariffs, or like for me, for example, I'm a writer, AI is obviously a potential threat, so I'm branching out now into things like presenting. And after a while, as you develop your brand, you become the authority on it. Tonight, Matthew, and people will come to you, so you don't have to push yourself so much. Someone came to me from BBC World Service in February and asked me to talk about AI. And I got now, I'm like, oh, look. Didn't even have to pitch to anything because I've already built a personal brand there. So, I guess to sum up, I've got a lot of summary slides, but I know that you're running short time. Go out there, be amazing, because I know you are. I know you've all been a little bit shy today, but hopefully after the end of this, you'll feel a little bit like, even if you're part of a team, that's absolutely fine. even if you're a little bit shy and a bit of an introvert, that can still work to your advantage. You can still talk to people, listen to them, be sensitive. Even if you don't think you have the skills, you have other skills. For example, our artist friend here, he just doesn't know it yet. Even if you don't know where to get started, often resources at the end of this slide. And even if you don't think you can, because guess what? I think you can, and I will come and hunt you down and arm wrestle you into submission if you don't think you can. So we probably don't need to sum up. You get the idea. Personal branding. Why do we do it? Getting cast, taking control of our public image. Lots of different ways to do it. Networking, public speaking, even if you're an introvert. Lots of ways you can get yourself out there. Awards, public speaking, collaborating with other people, particularly if you are an introvert. And remember that your brand doesn't just have to be about your work. You can be a crazy skydiver or a comedian, or are you the next speaker?
I'm not right.
Okay. I'll go for Davy Bowie. That's the thing. Okay. And oh yeah, I can have a clown. That's absolutely fine. So here are just a few resources. There's a slide share there if you want to take a picture of it. So basically, go out, be fantastic. Thank you so much for listening. And yeah, happy to chat to you at the end.